down for, thank you. Well, no, oh, it's good, it's good, it's good. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to sing. Let's sing. Havana, Shira, Shir, Hallelujah. Come, let us sing Hallelujah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so good to see you all here. It feels like the high holidays. It's that big a crowd. We're delighted to welcome you, and always those of you at home who are streaming. We especially want to welcome tonight our fifth graders who are going to be having a special blessing this evening and some good food. We're delighted to have you here. And we also want to extend a special welcome to the Los Altos United Methodist Church's confirmation class, who's here with us tonight. And their pastor Jeremy will introduce you to Rabbi Jeremy after the service. We're just so grateful and glad to be together as we enter into Shabbat. I invite you to take a deep breath. Let the week that's passed fall away as we enter into this period of peace and rest. Let's bring in the light.
Bring in the light.
It's my pleasure to invite up Sasha Zinn and her family to light our Shabbat candles. Sasha, Matt, Cindy, and Miles. Sasha is celebrating becoming bat mitzvah tomorrow. You can find the blessing for candle lighting on page 2 or 120. Sasha will lead us in Kiddush, the blessing over the wine, which is on page 5 or 123.
Baruch
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah banu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'anim, ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Take a sip. L'chaim. Nicely done. Excellent. Thank you. Sit down. Mazel tov, guys. On Shabbat, we imagine that we are welcoming the Sabbath bride in. We go out to meet her, and we sing these words, "Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat." Let's turn to page 20 or 138, and we'll sing Lecha Dodi. We'll sing 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to 9, we're going to stand and turn towards the door and see if we can see her. Page 20.
Shabbat.
turn now to page 28 or 146 for the words of Baruch Hu, the official call to prayer. Next prayer is Roll into Dark. This is our interpretation of our twilight prayer. We remind ourselves that just day turning into night is a miracle, so we give thanks.
Page 34 or 152, words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. seated. Turn to page 36 or 154. We'll chant together the words of Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 39, we'll read this meditation before Michamocha. It's responsive. It's by Rabbi Chaim Stern. It's from a different generation. So you'll see the indented sections. We'll all read together. So let's try this. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory.
May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Turn the page, page 40 or 158.
Adonai et Yaakov, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, Chata Adonai Gal Yisrael.
In a world in which there is so much brokenness and so much that feels so far beyond our control, this prayer reminds us to seize control of the things that we can control. We can control how we feel sometimes. We can control how we react to things. We can bring love and peace into the world. We can show it to ourselves and to our friends and our family, our loved ones, and our community. And we can construct piece by piece a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace, here in this space, that it might emanate out into the world. Hashkivenu is on page 42 or 43 or 160 and 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Page 46 or 164. I invite you to rise if you're able for the words of the Amidah, our standing prayer, really the central portion of our worship. We'll sing the first few blessings together to sort of set the tone for our prayers, put us in the mindset of prayer, and then we'll set you free to offer whatever prayers are in your hearts or on your minds this evening. Prayers of thanks, prayers of awe, prayers of frustration or fear or even anger. They're all accepted and appreciated and wanted and needed here in this space and certainly in our world. We'll sing together our opening meditation on page 46 or 164. Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo V'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah.
Page 50.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atal hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelujah selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Continue to ourselves through page 63. And once you finish your own prayer, you can be seated.
As our calendar turned towards Purim, and our story reminds us of the heroism of Esther and Mordechai, the heroes of our history that prevented the destruction of our people in that ancient land. Our thoughts tonight and all this week are in the East. As a community, we offer our deepest prayer for peace in Ukraine. We insist on the humanity of all beings. We defy tyranny, cruelty, and brutality. We refuse to accept that there are no options, no choices, and no alternatives. There are people who desperately need help, and there are nations with the capacity to give it. There can remain no question. We are already much too late. There is no time for yet another prayer in words. We must now turn our prayer into deeds. It is time to let the tormentors in Russia know that the community of nations is committed to action. In the name of mercy, we ask that the world be merciful. For pity's sake, let us take pity on the pitiful. For the love of God, let us show love to all God's children. May God grant strength and safety and success to those who go forth to rescue those whose lives are in peril. May the profound heroism of the Ukrainian people and their leaders triumph over their enemies' cruelty, callousness, and greed. May the God of compassion, who took pity on the Jews of Shushan and delivered them from death, show compassion now toward the people of Kyiv and Kharkiv and Odessa and Poltava and cities and towns throughout Ukraine. God save them from destruction. May those who proclaim righteousness do what is right. May those suffering in Ukraine find the support and strength to help them to find peace and live another day. May the tragedy unfolding there awaken our biological and intuitive awareness that no person can exist or survive as an island. May we recognize that we all depend on one another for our survival. May we learn to cooperate for the sake of ourselves, for each other, our planet, and all life. And may the God of all that lives help us to see the value of all that lives. Together we sing our song of peace.
Please turn to page 341 at the bottom. We're going to sing these words from Isaiah. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again study war.
Despite the joy of Shabbat and the joy of Bat Mitzvah, the joy of families coming together, we know that there are some who come to our worship, whether they're here in person or watching us on streaming, because they're offering prayers for those in need of healing. Our prayer for healing is on page 253 or 371, depending on the book you have. need of healing, I invite you to say their name out loud so we can add them to our prayer. Our Bethlehem community is specifically thinking of Deb Altschuler, Ginny Anderson, Susan Carlson, Brian Covert, Diane Denenberg, Carol Emmerich, Terry Gibson, Selena Glader, Rick Gratch, Barbara Heiken, Lori Holtzberg, Dorothy Hupert, Moritz Hupert, Marvin Jones, Harold Muckamal, Eshra Ozturk, Rabbi Lori Phillips, Sue Rahoot, Jonathan Sachs, Stephen Abraham Simon, David Baruch Ben Simona, Nikki Sokol, Donna Spanger, Nicole Gent Wickenheiser.
We have a celebration, another celebration tonight. Tonight we celebrate our 5th grade B'nai Mitzvah cohort as they begin their journey towards B'nai Mitzvah. So I would like now to invite the parents of these 5th graders to stand at their seat, please. We're going to be inviting you up in just a minute, kids. But this blessing that I'm going to sing as you're coming up are words promised to you, to many of you, at your baby naming or perhaps your bris. At that time, we wished for you that you should live a life of Torah, of chuppah, finding a match one day, and also living a life of good deeds. And at that time, you all were just little bitty things, right? But today, we're going to begin the fulfillment of that first wish for a life of Torah. Because today, you begin that journey towards that life of Torah and studying Torah for your bar or bat mitzvah. So I'd like to invite you up, and as you come up to the bima, we're going to sing these words to you now. Come on up, kids. Come up.
So we need all the 5th graders to come on up to the bima at this time. Don't be bashful.
May your eyes shine with the light of Torah, and your face be radiant as the brightness of the sky. May your lips speak words of wisdom, and may the world you live in be we are going to open the ark and offer a blessing to these beautiful people and invite the congregation to please stand. Okay, everyone, go ahead and face the ark. Hi, 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 hi.
Leo. Come in close, come in close. You have your masks on still.
This is your group. This is us. This is the group. We're going to go to B'nai Mitzvah together. Okay? These are your people. All right? We're going to offer you the threefold priestly blessing. Rabbis, why don't you guys come on up here in front of the kids? And so here we go. I'll do the Hebrew, and then you guys can do the English. Yevarech Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and protect you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon you and within you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseh lecha shalom.
And may God's presence support you as you begin this process of B'nai Mitzvah. And may you discover in it that great gift, that great thing that we are all seeking. Through this process, may you discover a sense of shlemut, a sense of wholeness, and a sense of peace.
Together, let's all say Amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, everyone. You could return to your seats. We're going to have a yummy dinner together. Mazel tov. After this.
I hate to break it to you, fifth graders, but I stand between you and dinner. It's just a few minutes, I promise. What goes through your mind? What do you think about? Do you reflect on the why, the what, of when we rise and face towards Jerusalem for prayer? It happened again about 20 minutes ago. Reflexively, powerfully, as we entered Tefillah, those of us able to do so stood and focused ourselves towards the east. The Talmud anchors our practice of turning in that direction, not only towards Jerusalem, but more specifically towards what was the temple. We read in Masechet Brachot this description of what was, even then, a long-established custom of directing prayer towards the Temple Mount, regardless of where one stands in the world. Nimseu kol Yisrael makavunim et libam lemakom echad. All of the people of Israel were found focusing their hearts toward one place. One standing in prayer in the east turns to face west, and one standing in the west turns to face east. One standing in the south turns to face north, and one standing in the north turns to face south. All of the people of Israel are found focusing their hearts toward one place, the Holy of Holies in the temple. These words encapsulate a tremendous yet elegantly simple act of creativity, written after the destruction of the Second Temple, when there's no there. The temple is in ruins. Israel is not an independent nation. And as Jewish communities continue to spread throughout Europe and to Asia, and in time far beyond, rabbinic innovators made something out of almost nothing through an intentional act of focus, of kavanah, of directing the hearts and minds of a dispersed people towards a single location. The rabbis of the Talmud ensured that there was and is a there, a focal point for Jews living around the world, a temple of the imagination that enabled each and every Jew to project onto or into that charged, sanctified emptiness their longings, their self-image, their dreams. What's more, as far-flung Jewish communities built their own temples and created local customs and proved the adage that there is more, many more than one way to be Jewish, the practice of turning during prayer towards what had been the site of the temple created and continues to create unity. It binds us together while upholding our worldwide diversity. We pray as one. Nimseu kol Yisrael mekabunim et libam lemakom echad. It is an amazing, meaningful practice. And it is truly remarkable that after at least 1,500 years, here we are, Jews, living in Silicon Valley in 2022. We find ourselves turning our bodies and focusing our hearts towards that one place when we pray. I love and value this practice. But during these past weeks when I have prayed, I have found myself focusing on both the meaning of that place, the Temple Mount, and the meaning of this practice for Reformed Jews. My recent considerations of this custom were spurred by news reports from late January that Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett was retreating from a stated commitment to a 2016 agreement forged with progressive Jewish leaders to implement a plan that would give official status to the reform and conservative movements at the Western Wall, at the Kotel, through the creation of an egalitarian prayer space. Yielding to pressure from his ultra-Orthodox coalition partners, Benjamin Netanyahu froze the agreement in 2017. But with the recent change in administrations, we had hoped that finally this new government would take meaningful steps to fulfill its obligations. Instead, on January 28th, when asked about the Kotel deal, Bennett backtracked, saying, "This government cannot fulfill everyone's wishes. Not all of our dreams will come true. But I want diaspora Jews to continue their efforts to feel that they have a home here in Israel." When the Kotel agreement was reached in early 2016, we celebrated the feeling of having a home. This was going to be a major step forward in the arduous process of achieving full and equal recognition of Reform Judaism in Israel. At the time, the URJ issued a statement that included these words: "This new section of the Western Wall will become a beacon of enduring religious freedom and progressive Judaism. This agreement makes the statement that there is a place for all of our people. This new egalitarian, pluralistic prayer space gives us hope that if we can live our Jewish spiritual diversity in that holiest of places, we can and will, one day soon, make the entire state of Israel a place of religious freedom, tolerance, and respect." The URJ's statement echoed these well-known words from Isaiah: "I will bring them to my sacred mountain and let them rejoice in my house of prayer. Ki beiti, beit tefillah, yikareh lechol ha'amim. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples." The name of our congregation is encoded in this verse: Beit tefillah, lechol ha'amim, a house of prayer for all peoples. Beit Am, that's what we are, a house of prayer for all. And for centuries, through an early rabbinic innovation, in the absence of a physical presence, an actual temple in that location in Jerusalem, our conceptions of what could be created there, a place for all to pray, We're only limited by our imaginations. And yet, the predominant expression of this active imagination of what could be is most often articulated as a desire to restore the past. As we chant in our liturgy, Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem, renew our days of old. Or as the words in the Orthodox version of the Amidah state, have mercy and return to Jerusalem, your city. Build it now, in our days and for all time. Re-establish there the majesty of David, your servant. Praised are you, Adonai, who builds Jerusalem. This is liturgical nostalgia. For why does a house of prayer for all peoples, a space where all may pray, why must it reflect what we imagine the past to have been? Why cannot our conceptions of this sanctified space in Jerusalem reflect our present and future? Why shouldn't what unfolds in our Beit Am, the egalitarian prayer and liturgy that we practice here in the hills of Los Altos, why should it not be reflected by what occurs there at the Kotel, bathed in the pinkish light refracted by Jerusalem stone? Before 1967, it was likely easier to imagine an inclusive, egalitarian, sanctified space of prayer for all people in Jerusalem. But after the Six-Day War, the Kotel was placed under the authority of the Orthodox rabbinate, which has continually governed the site and enforced the rules and customs of an Orthodox synagogue, separating men from women, preventing women from reading Torah and from leading services at the wall. Consequently, and as many of us have experienced, the closer we get to what is considered the holiest site in Judaism, the harder it is for us to pray. For there at the Kotel, our commitment to religious pluralism and equality, demonstrated most effectively and heroically by women of the wall, these expressions of our Jewish practice are met not only with derision, but also with violence perpetrated by other Jews. On the 6th anniversary of the Kotel Agreement, this past January 31st, the URJ called on Prime Minister Bennett to implement the agreement and said, in a time of intensifying political and religious polarization, such bold action would long be remembered as a Solomonic solution, teaching all Jews the power of compromise and unity. This morning, as they do monthly, women of the wall celebrated Rosh Chodesh at the Kotel. As Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the URJ, recounted in an email that many of us received, MK Rabbi Gilad Kariv used his Knesset immunity to bring in a Torah, which was then read by leaders of women of the wall. According to Rabbi Jacobs, 10,000 Orthodox women and girls protested against them with hate-filled signs and harsh chants. The Haftarah for this week's portion, Pikudei, introduces a very different type of gathering than that one, a celebration that may have once occurred in pretty much the same place as this morning's conflict. In the Haftarah, we read of Solomon's dedication of the temple, but it is what happens next that may provide us with inspiration, with hope. For after the dedication, after the numerous sacrifices made to God, we read in 1 Kings chapter 8 that Solomon and all Israel with him, a great assembly, Kahal Gadol, which had gathered from throughout the land, they celebrated the feast, Hechag, to Adonai our God for 7 days. On the 8th day, the people said goodbye to the king and returned to their homes joyful and glad of heart. smechim v'tovei lev, over all the goodness that Adonai had shown to God's people, Israel. May this image of unity, of all Israel feasting together in that one place, may it inspire our eastward prayers, and may it inspire our continued advocacy for the creation of a sanctified space, a place of prayer in Jerusalem, where we all may live our Jewish spiritual diversity with gladness, with joy. Shabbat Shalom. We continue now with Aleinu on page 282. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, l'atei kedula l'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
Page 287.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
Please be seated.
We turn our thoughts to our prayer of memory. Frame our prayer with these words by Rabbi Richard Levy, page 291. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were, in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. And no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. Tonight, as I read the name of a friend or loved one, I invite you to rise in their honor and remain standing. This week, our Bethlehem community is mourning the recent deaths of Rabbi Martin Wiener, cousin of Deborah Mendelsohn, Jeremy Kermit, life partner of Taryn Basil, son of Eben Kermit and Kathy Kermit, brother of Nathan and Monica, and Dr. Gerald Berner, husband of Harriet Berner, mother of Ellen, Dave, and Ross Berner, and grandfather of Ben. This Shabbat, we are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning for Leanne Bischoff, Richard Wolfeld, Herbert Berman, Adele Mitchner, and Sam Strober. This Shabbat also marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death for Gail Andick, Bob Apfelberg, Boyd Arnold Sr., Barbara Greenberg Bailey, Patrice Bernstein, Julia Block, Gili Bonai, Kurt Bowman, Thomas Carter, Esther Chechanovsky, David Chechanovsky, Golda Chechanovsky, Hannah Chechanovsky, Isaac Chechanovsky, Leon Cohen, Samuel Davidoff, Lila Douglas, Rudolph Ellman, Anat Fogel, Joseph M. Frankel, Fred Friendly, Shirley Levitt Gaynor, Joseph Hassan, Lori Melanie Herman, Hildegard Hirsch, Gersh Kaplan, Louis Kaplan, Clara Katz, Marilyn Katzman, Shirley Ann Kalmar, Ruth Cutchins, Sarah Ruth Lazar, Arthur H. Levere, Marion Levy, Sarah Levinson, Faye Levy, Charlotte London, Gail Lowenthal, Riva Mactus, Jeanette Manison, Isidore Icky Muslia, Sophia Melnikova, Lester Mendelson, Tova Myers, Alla Manushkina, Lee Moses, Miriam Napel, Edith Nathan, Bert Osney, Tova Rauschwerger, Jules Reback, Robert Richter, Terry Rosenstreeter, Riza Rudiak, Lena Rusak, Rivka Rusak, Natalie Samuelson, Harold Scher, Betty Schloss, Jenny Lou Schoolman, William Anderson Settle, Stuart Shea, Henry Sopkin, Cornelia Spindle, Robert Spunt, Richard Steiber, Susie Stewart, Aaron Tillman, Millie Warren, Jordan Watts, Jerome Weinstein, Esther Weiss, Israel Weisbrod, Morris Weitzner, Manfred Wildman, and Hendel Zollman. Invite others to share names of those who perhaps I haven't read, family, friends, or loved ones. Invite our community to rise in strength and solidarity as we turn to page 294. We also add to all of these names prayers of peace for the hundreds of lives who have been lost in the Ukraine. Page 294 or 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Just a brief announcement. It's just so wonderful to see so many of our fifth graders. Please join us for dinner with Sarah and Alex and Lauren. Raise your hand. They're our amazing ed team. If you haven't met them, Sarah, Alex, and Lauren, all of them, you have to figure out who's Sarah, who's Alex, and Lauren, but they're all terrific. So our 5th grade and 5th grade families are excited that you're here for Shabbat. As Rabbi Weissman said, a special welcome to all of our friends and neighbors at Los Altos United Methodist Church. We think so highly of you and your pastor, so it's a delight to invite you to our worship this evening. As we do each week, of course, we collect tzedakah, we collect money for an important organization, and throughout February and again in March, we're collecting for 2 different organizations that are working with communities directly in the Ukraine. The first is funds that go to our sister congregations in Odessa and Poltava, including Congregation Beth Am, named after this synagogue in Poltava with the World Union of Progressive Judaism. And then the second is the JDC, the Joint Distribution Committee's response to the emergency in Ukraine. We know that we see headlines and Twitter feeds all the time about the tragedies there. So we encourage you to be as generous as possible. There's a tzedakah box that you can put bills into as you walk out. You can make a contribution if you're streaming on our webpage, or you can Venmo Beth-Am, and anyway, mark it as tzedakah or Ukraine, and we'll make sure those funds will get there. On that note, this Sunday at 5:30, from 5:30 to 6:30 in Palo Alto, Beth Am is participating with multi-faith voices of peace and justice in a solidarity rally for Ukraine in Palo Alto. All of that information is on the Beth Am Facebook page and the Beth Am web page, so we encourage you to check it out. We hope to see many of you there, if you're comfortable being there, on Sunday at 5:30. We'll sing our song for peace. Od Yavo, Shalom Aleinu. May peace come to us, to all of those in Israel, to all of those in the Ukraine and across the world. And he's not going to like me saying this, but Rabbi Morrison's running a marathon this weekend. His 7th marathon. He's shooting for 2:40 this week.
One of these days.
Oh, no, something like that. Yeah. So
maybe reverse.
He's going to get the carbs for the challah tonight.
All right, good. Go ahead.
Join with us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. Go for it. I'll have a piece.